3 seconds of silence only, the dust dancing in light that enters through the broken window. On the floor, a lit flashlight flickers, as if someone had dropped it in a hurry. The air feels heavy, and the breathing of whoever is stuck in their throat. Inside, in darkness, from the abandoned warehouse, a low sound, almost a dragging sound, fades before becoming a scream. No one in the city has dared to enter that place since the old fire. But today, someone went in. And the puppy, one German Shepherd canine, missing for days, stands there staring into the void as if he were sniffing a secret. Mateo Rivera was a police officer, one of those who carry the burden of weariness on their shoulders and trust in the eyes, even when the heart begs for a pause. He worked with Rex, a police dog canine, German Shepherd loyal, protective, sensitive, intuitive, and, in that city, everyone knew him. A puppy like a hero of small routines, protect children at school, guiding searches, keeping calm in danger. But that week, Rex disappeared. And the silence, the house that stayed at Mateo's, seemed bigger than the entire city. Mateo's family felt it first, his mother quietly asking on the phone, his sister leaving the door unlocked just in case he comes back, and Luna, a child from the neighborhood, crying because the puppy, he would always press his nose against her hand when she trembled with fear. There was Steer small, discreet, and a hope stubborn. He'll show up. But with each passing day without Rex, the feeling was that something was wrong. As if the police dog he hadn't left, as if he had been called away. On the 4th day, the city began to talk about the burned-down warehouse in the industrial zone, the place where nobody goes, where the darkness, it seems to live there. Mateo pretended not to hear, because police officers learn not to feed superstitions. But upon returning from his shift, he noticed the water bowl on the porch was empty, and there were paw prints in the dust, like a message. He continued on in silence, feeling the breathing to stay short. It wasn't just longing, it was instinct. It was the kind of danger that makes no noise until it's too late. Before leaving, Mateo looked at the old photo on the refrigerator. Rex as a puppy, still. Puppy small, sleeping in Luna's lap during the first visit to the barracks, and the phrase Mateo always repeated as a promise. We protege the family. If this story has already upset you, heart like the video, turn on notifications, and follow the page, because from here on out every step has a reason. Mateo grabbed the flashlight, called for police dogby name, and received no response. Only the silence. And the silence that night seemed to be a warning. When Mateo got close to the shed, the moonlight wasn't enough. The facade was a dark block, and the wind blew through the holes as if the building were breathing on its own. He found the flashlight on the ground, the same one someone used inside, and then he saw Rex, German Shepherd. He was thin, dirty, but standing motionless, staring into the depths of the darkness. It didn't growl, it didn't advance, it just sniffed, as if holding the world in his snout. Mateo whispered, "Come here!" But the puppy, he didn't come, and at that moment Mateo understood. Rex didn't reappear to return, he reappeared to guide a rescue. Rex took a short step, then another, keeping his body low as he did in training when danger, it could not be provoked. The police dog, he was breathing deeply, his chest rising slowly, and his snout searching for something invisible in the air. Mateo noticed the detail that only those who live with a German Shepherd note, that almost imperceptible tremor in the front paw. It wasn't fear, it was alert. The puppy. He stopped near a pile of rubble, sniffed the ground, took 2 steps back and looked directly at Mateo. A silent invitation, a clear request. There, in that forgotten corner of the city, Rex was, protecting something or someone. The smell was strange, metallic, mixed with old dust and mold. Matteo smelled it. Heart he hit faster, but kept his voice low. As if speaking to a killed, startled, Rex moved another meter forward, stopped again, and sat down. That was the signal he used when he shouldn't go alone. Kind police dog. He never sat down without a reason. Silence. The shed seemed to grow, and the flashlight revealed a forgotten detail. A torn baby blanket, half buried under burnt planks. Rex pressed his snout against it and took a deep breath, as if confirming a trust-hold. Matteo knelt down, carefully moved the piece of wood aside, and Rex immediately stood up, positioning himself between him and the back of the shed. There was no aggression, only protection, the German shepherd. He positioned himself like a shield, his body firm, his head down, his eyes alert. A faint sound came from behind the makeshift wall, something between a cough and a cry. Matteo froze. The entire city believed that place was nothing but ruins and darkness, but Rex had been there for days, not lost. Guarding loyalty pure, silent, without an audience. The sound repeated itself, clearer now. Rex turned his head, looked at the exact spot, and then at Matteo, as if to say, "This is it, puppy." He pressed his snout against the wall and stepped back, making space. Matteo felt his hands sweating. It wasn't standard procedure, there was no backup, and the radio wasn't working properly inside. But there was Instinct du Police Dog, the one who had saved lives before. And there was a hope a stubborn creature grew amidst the dust. Rex lay down on the ground, motionless, a sign that the risk was real, but controllable. When Matteo managed to open a larger gap, the flashlight illuminated a small face covered in soot. One child alone. Her eyes narrowed at the light, and to breathing it was short, tiring. Rex approached slowly, without touching, just present. The puppy. He knew that size, that fear. He had sensed it from day one. The police dog. He lay down next to the girl, offering her warmth, protection, and something even harder to explain, trust. The girl held out her trembling hand, and Rex didn't move. Matteo swallowed hard. Now he understood why Rex had disappeared. Invisible threat. It wasn't a criminal, nor a trap. It was abandonment, the silence that kills slowly. The German shepherd, he stood there steadfast, like a guardian. Time seemed to stand still inside that shed. Rex didn't bark, didn't pull, didn't get agitated. He had chosen to stay, chosen, protect. And at that moment Matteo realized that there was still much to discover, and that not everyone was ready to believe what that hero dog, I had done it. Rex did not stray from child. Not for a second. Police dog, he kept his body leaning forward, as if measuring every sound in the environment. From the back of the shed came an occasional creak, old wood yielding in the wind. Matteo realized that the puppy, it reacted before any audible noise, ears tense, snout raised, sniffing, something beyond the obvious. It wasn't just immediate protection, it was continuous surveillance. Breathing. The girl's heart rate began to slow down as she felt the heat of German shepherd next to it. Rex had chosen that specific spot to stay, not the most comfortable one, the safest one. This wasn't by chance, it was instinctive calculation. Matteo tried to use the radio, just static, the silence. The sound from the shed swallowed any attempt at communication. Rex turned his head quickly when a piece of metal rolled a few inches on its own, pulled by the slope of the floor. The K9 police dog. He stood up without growling, positioning himself between the child and the direction of the sound. An automatic gesture of protect. Matteo noticed marks on the ground, recent scratches, not from an animal, but from something dragged hastily. Rex sniffed the trail, turned back, and lightly touched Matteo's knee with his snout, a silent warning. It's not time to advance. The girl tried to speak, but her voice came out weak. Rex rested his head on her shoulder, a gesture he used with victims in shock. Puppy, it wasn't making any noise. The German shepherd, he understood that sound. There could be an enemy. Matteo felt a tightness in his heart upon realizing that Rex recognized that fear, that he had experienced it before. The police dog. He sniffed the air again, repeating the movement several times, always in the same direction. Loyalty. It's not just about staying, it's about knowing when to wait, and Rex was waiting for something or someone to move. Outside, a distant siren cut through the air. Rex reacted immediately, stiffening, not out of relief, out of worry. The police dog. Did you know that noise attracts attention? Darkness. The shed seemed denser, as if it hid more than just broken walls. Matteo noticed a disturbing detail. There were remnants of fresh food near the girl. Someone had been there, not long ago. Rex sniffed the crumpled package, then the ground, then the air above. Sniff vertical placement was unusual. That indicated recent human presence. The danger he hadn't left. Rex stepped back a few paces, returned, and repeated the route, mentally marking distances. It was like watching a map being drawn in silence. Hero dog, it didn't bark because it didn't want to reveal its position. Child Matteo understood that Rex was buying time. Every minute there was an act of protection. The girl held the fur of German shepherd, and Rex accepted it, motionless. That wasn't just instinct. It was trust built on the edge. The shed creaked again, closer this time. The danger, he was still breathing inside. Matteo sensed something bigger approaching, not in the form of an immediate attack, but as a decision that needed to be made. Rex looked directly into his eyes, a fixed, intense, unhurried gaze. It was the same look that preceded difficult operations. Canine police dog. He was asking for something rare, patience. Not to leave, not to call for backup yet, to wait. Thessalon's. It regained control of the space. A light. The lantern trembled slightly in Matteo's hand. This was only the beginning, and the city still believed that Rex had only disappeared. When reinforcements finally arrived outside, the reaction wasn't relief. It was bewilderment. Two officers looked at the shed and then at Rex, assessing the situation. Police dog with suspicion. This place was swept last week, someone murmured. Matteo felt the weight of judgment in the air. The German shepherd remained motionless beside the child, as if he heard nothing. One of the agents suggested that the puppy he was confused, disoriented by the days he had been missing. Rex slowly raised his head and returned toss-sniff. The same point, repeating the sign. For Matteo, that wasn't a mistake. It was conscious insistence. Doubt grew when a supervisor stated that protocol required immediate evacuation. Unstable location, structural risk, he said, pointing to the burned ceiling. Rex reacted by stepping forward, blocking the passage. Not aggressively. Protector the canine police dog eye was communicating something simple. Not yet. The silence it spread among men, a trust in the instinct of puppy it clashed with written rules. Matteo felt the heart to squeeze. If they took the girl away now, something could be lost. A clue. A truth. Rex sat back down, the same signal, the same request. A paramedic approached to assess the child, but Rex kept his body between her and the back of the shed. "He's being overprotective," someone commented. Matteo took a deep breath and replied quietly, "He's protecting her the right way. German shepherd." He pressed his snout to the ground and inhaled deeply, several times, as if measuring time. The metallic smell returned, stronger than before. Danger unresolved. A light, the flashlight, revealed something almost invisible, a thin wire stretched between two fallen beams. Rex dodged it with precision, a simple trap, but real. Tensions rose when one of the police officers suggested sedating the police dog to move forward safely. Matteo felt the word hit him like a blow. Rex perked up his ears, attentive to the tone, not the phrase. The puppy, she didn't understand orders there. She understood intention. The girl pinched his fur, startled. Tears, silent tears, trickled down his dirty face. German Shepherd. He remained steadfast, transmitting trust without looking at anyone but Matteo. The choice was clear: follow protocol, or follow the instinct who had saved lives before. Matteo made the hardest decision of his career. He asked for time, 5 minutes. He didn't explain everything, he just trusted him. The supervisor hesitated, looking at the warehouse, then at Rex, the K9 police dog. He stood up and walked 2 steps, stopping just before the trap. It sniffed. The air above, not the ground. A detail that no one else noticed. Thessalence. It got heavy again. Those 5 minutes weren't about authority. They were about loyalty, to the puppy as child, and to the truth that was still hidden there. The 5 minutes began to feel like hours. Outside, radios crackled, and someone mentioned that residents had seen movement in the warehouse during the early morning hours. This increased the pressure. It could just be a vagrant, they said. Rex reacted immediately to the tone, not the words. The police dog returned Tosniff, the same high point near a broken beam. It wasn't random behavior. Matteo noticed something unsettling. Rex wasn't just protecting the child, he was protecting everyone there. German Shepherd had identified a risk that didn't yet have a name, but was present. An agent tried to advance from the left. Rex moved quickly, cutting through the path without touching anyone. The movement was precise, practiced, almost elegant. Loyalty, it's not blind submission. It's responsibility, puppy. She sat down again, repeating the same ritual. Matteo noticed that Rex always positioned himself at the same angle, creating a safe zone around the girl. Light, he revealed more wires, almost invisible, connected to empty cans. An improvised alarm, danger confirmed. The silence, it became a necessity, not an accident. The technical team began to realize that the K9 police dog, he wasn't disoriented. He was mapping. An expert whispered that it looked like a simple surveillance scheme, common in abandoned areas, used temporarily. The doubt shifted its focus. It was no longer about the puppy, to be wrong. It was about who had been there. Rex sniffed the floor and then the baby blanket. 2 different presences, 2 distinct times. The German Shepherd, he lifted his snout, breathing air once more. Instinct, finely tuned. Nothing there was an accident. The girl pointed with difficulty to the back of the shed. Rex followed the gesture without moving. A trust, the gap between the two was visible, almost palpable. A police officer commented that perhaps someone had used the child to cover up another activity. The sentence landed hard. Matteo felt the heart a squeeze of suppressed anger. The puppy, he didn't react to the comment. He reacted to an almost inaudible sound, a slight scraping of metal behind the makeshift wall. The danger it was still active. The clock was ticking. Rex turned to Matteo once more. There was no hurry in his gaze. There was certainty. The police dog, he took 2 steps, stopped and went back, repeating the route. It was an invitation to observe, not to follow blindly. Matteo noticed a new detail, recent tire marks on the outside, near a forgotten side door. Silence. It wasn't abandonment, it was strategy. The warehouse had been used, and Rex had stayed there because he knew that leaving meant leaving something behind, something that still needed to be seen. The side door creaked barely, almost not at all. Rex stared at it for long seconds, then looked away at the floor, as if marking an invisible line. The police dog. He didn't cross that line. He protected. He knew what was inside, but also what could happen if someone carelessly walked by. Matteo noticed traces of recent grease on the doorknob, inconsistent with the place being abandoned. The German Shepherd sniffed the air once again, focusing on breathing short, repeated. It wasn't panic. It was calculation. The danger, I had been there not long ago, and perhaps I was still nearby. Doubt resurfaced strongly when one of the police officers stated that there was no search warrant to proceed further. Bureaucracy clashed directly with the loyalty due. Puppy Rex lay down again next to the child, keeping their bodies parallel to the back of the shed. The message was clear. Don't leave, don't move forward. Observe. Silence. It became too heavy to ignore. A light. The flashlight revealed a forgotten detail on the ground, a name tag with no name, just a worn symbol. No one recognized it. Rex recognized the scent immediately and took a step back. The team began to split. Some advocated for an immediate withdrawal. Others could no longer ignore the pattern. Canine police dog. He had repeated the same signs for almost an hour without fail. There was no disorientation. There was trust instinctively. Mateo felt that the entire city was in that warehouse, deciding whether it still believed in anything beyond cold rules. Rex kept his gaze fixed, attentive to the slightest sound. A dry crack came from the back, wood giving way. It wasn't an accident. The danger it was reorganizing itself. The girl gripped Rex's fur tighter. Tears, silent tears trickled down, not from pain, but from suppressed fear. German Shepherd. He tilted his head slightly, a gesture he used to calm victims. Puppy, he didn't move, because he knew that any misstep could be costly. Mateo understood in that instant. Rex wasn't waiting for help. He was waiting for the right moment. The warehouse seemed suspended in time, as if holding its breath along with everyone inside. The supervisor finally spoke, lower in tone, lacking authority. "If he's right, what exactly is he preventing us from seeing?" No one answered. Rex stood slowly, walked to the exact spot where it had all begun, and stopped. He didn't move forward. He didn't retreat. He just stayed. Thessalon's absolute dominance filled the place. The truth was there, just a few meters away, hidden beneath something no one had dared to look closely at. And the hero dog. I knew this from day one. Mateo approached the point indicated by Rex with calculated steps, feeling the heart beating to the rhythm of one's own fear. The police dog. He remained motionless, his eyes fixed, as if holding the space with his presence. A light. The flashlight swept across the floor, revealing something no one had seen before. A metal lid, partially covered in ash, almost indistinguishable from the burnt floor. Rex sniffed only once, and then retreated. It wasn't curiosity, it was confirmation. The silence, it was absolute. Mateo knelt down and noticed recent signs of an opening. That place wasn't just a makeshift shelter. It was an active hideout. With extreme care, Mateo moved the debris around the lid. A strong smell escaped, a mixture of fuel and rust. The danger it finally took shape. Rex turned his face away, protecting the child from direct contact with the heavy air. Inside the compartment, there were no people. There were sealed boxes, too neatly organized to have been abandoned. One detail caught the eye, a child's bracelet attached to a ribbon, identical to the one on the blanket found earlier. The German Shepherd, he moved closer just enough to confirm the scent. That explained everything. The girl wasn't hidden by accident. She was being used as invisible. The supervisor breathed a sigh of relief as he grasped the scope of the discovery. It wasn't just a simple crime. It was a temporary base for illegal transportation, using the burned-down warehouse as perfect cover. Child It had been left there to keep curious onlookers away. No one goes where they believe there is human danger. Rex had realized this from day one. The hero dog, he didn't chase anyone. He stayed. He stayed top protect who had no defense. Loyalty applied in the quietest way possible. The instinct cold logic had prevailed. The revelation didn't come with shouts or sirens. It came with a human weight that was difficult to bear. Mateo felt it. Tears in her eyes, not of relief, but of belated understanding. Rex approached the girl again, lying down beside her, as if to say that it was now safe to breathe. Trust among them, he had saved more than one life. He had exposed an entire scheme without a single bite, without a single act of violence. The canine police dog eye had chosen the most difficult path: to wait. While the team carefully cordoned off the area, Rex remained exactly where he started. He didn't seek applause. He didn't react to the voices. He just stood there, attentive until child to be removed safely. Thessalon's. It finally broke into long sighs. The city didn't know it yet, but in that forgotten warehouse, a German shepherd had shown that heroes don't need to rush to save lives. Sometimes they just need to stay and trust their feelings. While the experts analyzed the hidden compartment, Rex remained attentive to the smallest details. Police dog. He walked a few steps around the metal lid, sniffing the air above her, not inside. This gesture caught the attention of a technician who noticed small openings in the ceiling used for makeshift ventilation. It wasn't an abandoned hiding place. It was recent, active. The German shepherd, he sat down directly under one of those openings, marking the spot. Loyalty. There, emotion wasn't the answer. It was method. Matteo felt the heart. She squeezed her fist when she realized that Rex had spent days there, alone, protecting a child without knowing when anyone would return. The next revelation came without words. A police officer found a cracked cell phone stuck among the wreckage, still with minimal battery power. The message history contained timestamps, simple codes, and a repeated phrase, "The place is safe." Safe because nobody was entering. Safe because there was fear. Rex pressed his snout against the device and then moved away, as if to say, "That's it. Puppy." He didn't react to voices or sudden movements. He reacted to the truth that was finally revealing itself. Thessalon's. It continued to be part of the solution, not the problem. The girl was carefully carried outside, wrapped in a clean blanket. Rex watched her every step, without moving from his spot. Canine police dog, he only relaxed his body when he saw the light of the day touching her face. A breathing. The child's bleeding became deeper, less irregular. Matteo realized that Rex would only leave after everything was over. The German shepherd, he had taken on that mission to the end, without needing orders. Trust it was all in the way I felt. No amount of training can fully teach you that. When the agents confirmed there were no more immediate risks, someone called Rex by name. He raised his head but didn't move. First, he looked at the closed compartment, then at Matteo. It was a silent request for confirmation. Matteo nodded with a short gesture. Only then did Hero Dog. He stood up and walked slowly toward him. There was no hurry, no celebration, just a conclusion. Thessalon's that moment spoke volumes more than any official report could ever write. As he left the warehouse, Rex paused for a moment and looked back, not out of attachment to the place, but out of memory. There, he had done what no one saw, what no one asked. Protected. He waited. He trusted. The city would still discuss procedures, failures, and responsibilities. But at that exact point, under the light even in the weak morning air, it was clear to everyone present. The German shepherd, he hadn't disappeared. He had chosen to stay where it mattered most. When the team sealed the compartment for forensic examination, Rex approached just close enough to sniff the metal edge one last time. Police dog. He wasn't looking for something new, he was looking for closure. Matteo realized that this gesture was the end of a cycle of surveillance. German shepherd, he took a deep breath, his body relaxing millimeters, the first real sign of relief since he had been found. Child, I was already outside, safe and Thessalon's. Inside the warehouse, the tension subsided. There was no resounding victory. There was a weight that was beginning to dissolve. The puppy, she had done what she needed to do. Now she could go. An expert called Matteo and showed him a detail. Repeated opening marks on the lid, always at night. Someone was returning there frequently. Rex had noticed the pattern before any human canine police dog. He didn't pursue it because he knew that Danger. The biggest thing was to leave the child alone. Loyalty applied intelligently. Matteo felt the heart squeeze while imagining the German shepherd spending nights there, attentive to every noise, choosing to stay in the most dangerous place to protect those who had no voice. When the warehouse was finally cleared for complete evacuation, Rex walked slowly to the main door. He stopped. He looked inside one last time. There was no nostalgia, only confirmation. The hero dog, he crossed the threshold as if closing a page. Outside, the light. The morning seemed different, less harsh. Breathing, Matteo's situation returned to normal. That wasn't just the end of one case. It was concrete proof that, instinct to police dog, he had guided everyone to the right place, at the right time. The news spread through the city hours later, but without dramatic details. There were no spectacular images. Just the report that a killed was found, thanks to the persistence of a German shepherd who refused to leave. Rex didn't react to the comments, nor to the hands that tried to caress him. He remained calm, attentive, as if he knew the real part was over. Trust. He doesn't ask for applause. He delivers on his promises and moves forward. That day, when Matteo finally took Rex home, Thessalon's, the street looked different, not empty, full. The puppy, he lay down near the door, as he always did, maintaining his habit of protect the family. The city would return to its routine. Reports would be written, but something essential had been learned there. Sometimes the hero doesn't chase after danger. He stays where no one else dares to stay and waits until the truth can breathe. A child. She was taken to the hospital still silent, wrapped in a clean blanket, while Rex watched from a distance, attentive but calm. Police dog, he didn't try to climb into the ambulance. He remained on the ground, as if he knew that part was no longer his. Matteo watched the German shepherd, relaxing for the first time, her body finally loose. The medical team confirmed mild dehydration and exhaustion, nothing that couldn't be treated in time. Breathing. The girl's condition was stable, light. The atmosphere in the hallway seemed less cold when someone whispered, "She'll be all right." Rex closed his eyes for a moment, as if accepting the end of the vigil. Inside the warehouse, the investigation progressed quickly. The hidden boxes confirmed the use of the location as a temporary, illegal base. No names, no spectacle, just facts. The supervisor thanked Matteo for the difficult decision to trust him. Canine police dog Rex, standing nearby, ignored the compliment. Puppy. He kept his gaze distant, attentive to everything, as if the danger could reappear. Loyalty, it doesn't switch off easily. The city was beginning to understand that Rex's disappearance wasn't a mistake. It was rescue silent, sustained by days of waiting and trust-no instinct. Hours later, Luna showed up at the hospital with her mother. Child, she ran towards Rex, still unsure, and stopped a few steps away. German shepherd, he lowered his body slowly, in the same calm gesture as always. Luna touched his fur and cried silently. Tears. Relief. Not fear. Rex didn't move. He stayed still. Protect, it's also about allowing the other person to feel. Matteo turned his face away for a second. The heart, it weighed on me, but in a good way. That connection didn't need words. It had been built in silence. The news spread through the city carefully, without sensationalism. People spoke in hushed voices as if respecting the tone of the story. The puppy, he stayed there for her, they said. He didn't leave. Rex returned to work days later, without medals, without ceremony. The police dog resumed his usual routine, sniff, notice, protect, but something had changed in the looks around. There was more trust, pay more attention to the small signs. The city has learned that danger, it doesn't always shout. Sometimes it hides where no one is looking. That night at home, Rex chose to sleep near the door, as always. Matteo turned off the light and stood still for a few seconds, listening to the breathing, calm German shepherd Thessalence. It wasn't empty. It was peace built with effort. Hero Dojanov had been done. The consequence of that rescue was not just discreet justice, it was the certainty that instinct, when respected, it saves lives. And that loyalty truth doesn't need to be seen in order to exist. In the following days, she began to gradually return to her routine. At the hospital, doctors spoke softly near her, respecting her recent fear. Rex visited only once. He didn't enter the room. He sat by the door, allowing the girl to see him and know he was there. Police dog, there was no need to get closer to protect. Her presence was enough. Breathing. She calmed down when she saw him. Trust restored. Matteo realized that Rex knew exactly when to stay and when to go. The German shepherd, he never confused care with excessive attachment. That, too, is loyalty. The investigation progressed discreetly. The markings, the anchor objects, and the times confirmed the use of the warehouse as a temporary transit point. No hasty public accusations, only solid facts. Rex accompanied a reconstruction of the site and precisely retraced the same routes. Puppy It indicated distances and stopped at the correct points, sniffed. The air was uniform. There was no improvisation. The K9 police dog, he had created a complete mental map during the days he spent there. Danger, it was dismantled without confrontation. Silent, like the rescue itself. When Matteo went back to working with Rex on the streets, something changed in the team dynamic. Their gazes became more hesitant before making a decision. Small signals gained weight. A hesitant step, a fixed stare, a slight deviation. German shepherd, he taught without teaching. Hero dog, he continued doing what he always did, protect families, children, strangers. But now there was a different kind of respect for instinct. The entire city seemed to breathe more carefully, as if it had learned that haste can blind one. The girl's family sent a simple letter to the battalion. It didn't mention names. It didn't ask for public recognition. It thanked them, police dog, for having stayed. Matteo read silently. Rex lay beside him, attentive to the tone, not the words. Tears. They emerged discreetly, without drama. Puppy, he lifted his head and rested his snout on Matteo's hand. Nothing more needed to be said. Love and loyalty, they have their own language. And Rex spoke that language perfectly. Over time, the warehouse reverted to being just an empty building. But for those who had been there, it would never be just ruins. It was a place where, German shepherd, she chose to stay when everyone else left. Where she trust doubt prevailed. Where the silence he saved the day. Rex continued sleeping near the front door, an old habit, now laden with meaning. The consequence of that day wasn't fame. It was peace. And the certainty that some heroes save lives without ever leaving their homes. The following week, Rex underwent a complete veterinary evaluation. He was thinner, showing signs of profound fatigue, but otherwise healthy. The veterinarian commented that few police dogs, they would maintain that level of vigilance for so many days, without collapsing. The German shepherd, he listened in silence, lying down, his eyes fixed on the door. Loyalty life isn't measured in hours, but in choices. Matteo thanked him in a low voice, as if speaking to someone who understands. The puppy, he lifted his head and took a deep breath. There was no pride there. There was relief. The mission had ended the right way. In the neighborhood, people began to greet Rex more carefully, not with fanfare, but with respect. One mother held her son's hand more attentively as they crossed the street. Child asked if the puppy, listen when we're scared. Matteo smiled without answering. Rex, beside him, kept a calm expression. Trust it is contagious when it stems from example. K9. Police dog, he continued working as always, sniffing, observing, protecting. But now there was a silent understanding. Not every rescue ends with sirens. The battalion recorded the case as resolved. No official photos, no interviews. The most visible consequence was internal. Decisions began to consider small signs, waiting times, pauses. The danger, it's no longer just something visible. Instinct, he gained space alongside the protocol. Rex watched everything with the serenity of someone who already knew, the hero dog. There was no need to teach, he had already shown, and that was etched in every attentive glance before a rash action. At home, the nights became more peaceful. Rex slept near the door, as always, but now, silence. It had a different weight. It wasn't tense surveillance. It was peace conquered. Matteo turned off the light and, for a few seconds, listened to the breathing, regular German shepherd. The heartbeat slowed down. The house seemed protected by something simple yet profound. Presence. Puppy. He had returned. Not like someone returning from a flight, but like someone fulfilling a commitment. Months later, the warehouse was demolished. The space became empty again. For the city, an urban detail. For those who were there, a silent landmark. Rex passed by the place only once on duty. He didn't stop. He didn't look. He kept going. The final consequence of that day was not a constant reminder. It was liberation. German shepherd, he had stayed when no one else did. Now he could move on. Loyalty, when fulfilled, it allows you to continue. Sometimes courage isn't about moving forward, it's to stay. Rex didn't chase the danger, didn't make a sound, didn't seek attention. He trusted in instinct, protected insolence, and he waited until the truth could be seen. When humans learn to listen for subtle signs, lives are saved without fanfare. Loyalty, it cannot be explained. It is sustained. He didn't disappear. He chose to stay. And that made all the difference. If this story touched you, leave a little paw in the comments.